Alright, so this morning we got another look at Gotham Knights, and I wanted to give my initial reaction to the gameplay that we received this morning. I'll have another video, maybe later today, maybe at a future date, discussing this demo in greater detail, but for the time being, I just wanted to give my initial thoughts on Gotham Knights and this new demo that we've received for the game. And one thing that I'm a bit confused about, and this might be cleared up by the time this video is uploaded, but at the end of this demo, they announced that pre-orders are active and that you can pre-order now to get an exclusive skin for the Batbike. But I've checked the Sony PlayStation Store, I've checked Steam, it does not appear that this game is up for pre-order. So that, I'm sure, is just a bit of confusion that needs to be cleared up. I don't know if pre-orders are going up later today, or if they're just announcing what the pre-order bonus will be and not necessarily putting pre-orders up for sale yet. But either way, I don't know. I hope that gets some clarification very soon. Either way, let's talk about this gameplay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the combat. It is what was most divisive back in 2020 when we got the gameplay demo with Batgirl and Robin and just that initial trailer. A lot of people were really wanting free flow combat to come back from the Arkham games. This combat looks much more RPG, and it does look like they have addressed that criticism to an extent. It looks like the combat in this game has taken away the damage numbers that were initially on screen for that 2020 demo, which I'm happy about. I don't think that damage numbers really belong on the screen. I feel that that's more useful as a developer tool, and it's more distracting for me as a player. So I'm glad that it does appear that there will be an option to not have those on the screen 24/7. I also really like what they've done with the HUD of the game. I like that now there isn't so much in the corners. It looks like it has been minimized so that it is not as distracting. That is another thing that we saw with Spider-Man PS4 as that game was getting announced and shown before release. We saw that there was a lot more on the screen, and I do think that that is a bit of a developer tool. It just allows the developers to see how the game is functioning, and so then they are able to sort of peel that back as the game is getting better and better. And again, I do think that to a degree, it's just them taking criticism to heart and really trying to make the game a better experience for the players. Now, I want to be very clear that this game is a very different style of game from the Arkham games that came before it, and so this game is not going to satisfy everybody, and not only that, it's not even going to satisfy everyone who was a fan of the Arkham games, because again, it's a very different style of game. I know that people are missing free flow combat. However, one criticism that I would direct at the Arkham games, if the other playable characters had been more prevalent throughout the stories, is that they all play almost identically. At least when you look at those very basic mechanics, the combat, the punching, the dodging, the parrying, it's all pretty much the same, just with slightly different animation sets. Whereas in Gotham Knights, it looks like the different characters fight completely differently. It looks like very different movesets. It looks like you're using very different tools and gadgets, and so I think that it's a very ambitious and interesting concept. And I don't know if any one of the characters will necessarily feel as polished or refined as Batman did in Arkham Knight, for example. However, I do think that each of them will play very distinctly and very differently, and we'll have to see. I could be proven wrong on that. But again, that's something where until I have the controller in my hand and I'm controlling the characters, I won't really know how it feels to play as any of them. I would also like to reiterate something that I've said throughout the entire process of which this game has been marketed. I really do like the art style of this game. It really does look like a comic book brought to life, in my opinion. It's not trying to be photorealistic, but it's also not trying to look cel-shaded or like a cartoon. And so ultimately it comes across as kind of a cross between the Telltale games and the Arkham games, and I feel like that's a pretty good balance. Another thing that really impressed me about this gameplay was just how immersive a random crime in Gotham was. Something that started as a combat sequence on a rooftop turned into a chase on the Batbike, and I just think that the game really looks like it brings the criminal activity to life. One thing in Arkham Knight is that there isn't really any endgame content once you've beaten the side content and the main story. You can go around and beat up thugs, but that's about it. And it looks like Gotham Knights has a bit more variety and diversity in its crimes and in its side content and just in things that you can do around the city. I also do think that it's really interesting how they've given every single character a different way to traverse Gotham. And again, I don't know if I'm sold on any of these as much as I was with a character like Batman in Arkham Knight. And I'm really interested to see how this game turns out. I think it has a lot of potential. I think it looks really cool. I think the biggest criticism that I would levy against this particular gameplay demo is that once again they focused on the Court of Owls, which is fine. I know that that's their big major selling point of the game, but I think that had the villain that they'd shown been like Two-Face or Bane or Poison Ivy or something, they could have potentially gotten another headline or two going about the game. I just know that I'm excited to see what other rogues will show up in this game, and it's been very overstated in my opinion that the Court of Owls will be the focus. I just want to see who else is in the game. Not only that, I also do want to see a bit more of what we can expect from the story, because again, I don't feel that we've gotten tons of information regarding what this game's story is. And maybe it's because the story of this game takes a bit of a back seat to the player's agency and their ability to choose what to take on first. It might just not be a narrative-driven story, which is fine. You know, that wouldn't be my preference, but I still think that the game could be fun, and maybe that is the style that will work best for the game. Maybe they're prioritizing the open world over the narrative, which, you know, that's just a different way to go about game development than we saw in the Arkham games. So ultimately, I do think that it's time for people who were really hoping that this would just be another Arkham game to just let that sentiment go. It's not going to be. It's never going to be. This isn't Batman Arkham Knight 2. This isn't Arkham Origins 2. This is a brand new continuity, and I'm starting to understand why. It does appear that WB Games Montreal didn't just want to make another Batman Arkham game. They wanted to do something very different, and with all the changes to gameplay, it would have been very difficult to keep it within the continuity of the Arkham games. This is very much their passion project and their baby, and they don't want to be in Rocksteady's shadow. They want to do something completely different. I know that I'm definitely going to give them a chance because I love the Arkham games. Arkham City is in my top 3 video games of all time, and so Gotham Knights has big shoes to fill, and I wish WB Games Montreal the best, and I hope that I really enjoy this game, and I hope you guys do as well. We also, of course, have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and Wonder Woman coming out within the next handful of years for DC games, so the future is looking very bright. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of this gameplay for Gotham Knights, and we'll see you guys in the next one.